They say, aim for the sky, but move slowly, enjoying each and every step along the way, for it is those little steps that make a journey complete. A very warm good morning to all the dignitaries, practitioners, professionals, teachers, scholars, participants from all across Gujarat, India, and all across the globe who have been able to join us on this fine day. I, Purva Dholakya, and Nikita
And
Surana
I, Nikita Surana,
would like to take this opportunity of welcoming you all to the 6th International Youth Symposium 2021, organized by the B.K. School of Professional and Management Studies, Gujarat University, India.
Robert Morgan said, knowledge is power, information is power. The secreting or holding of knowledge or information may be an act of tyranny, camouflaged as humility. So let's move ahead with an objective of sharing knowledge and encouraging the spirit of research, innovations, sustainability, and growth. As knowledge knows no borders, and as it said, if you have knowledge, let others light their candle in it. Our collective human wisdom has long been built through exchange of ideas from our knowledge. It fills my heart with joy to welcome all the dignitaries, participants who have joined us not only from various regions of this country, but also from the whole world to the occasion of International Youth Symposium. Let's have a warm round of applause for them.
Let us begin this auspicious occasion with the words of someone who gave the youth and our nation wings of fire. Yes, I'm talking about none other than the former President of India and the pride of our nation, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He said, my message, especially to the young people, is to have courage to think differently, courage to invent, to travel the unexplored path, courage to discover the impossible, and to conquer the problems and succeed. These are the great qualities that they must work towards. This is my message to the young people. These enlightening words shall remain with us forever.
In this century, our biggest challenge is to take up an idea that seems abstract and to turn it into reality. But in this path, everything has to be managed, keeping in mind the sustainable methods that can be alternative for businesses, which of course is the theme for INYS 2021. Reinventing business management practices for sustainability and growth. Empowering youth in contributing to sustainable development is the idea behind INYS that aims at conversion of dynamic youth from all over the globe to share best practices, discuss needs, gaps, challenges, and to discover new ways to work together with the purpose of empowering all together. It is the congruence of highest ideas and thoughts of young. This event also marks youthfulness of, as said, 45 years of young fraternity of B.K. School of Professional and Management Studies.
Now, I request us to proceed for the anthem of our prestigious Gujarat University, an institute which has given excellence in education to our society since 1949. Few of the university's many alumni include our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, Mallika Sarabhai, a Kuchipudi and Bharatnatyam dancer, Ashish Nandej, a political psychologist and a social theorist, and Pankaj Patel, who is the CEO of Zydus Cadila.
So here's the university song.
वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन गुजरात यूनिवर्सिटी आपणी गुजरात यूनिवर्सिटी आपणी विद्यातणु तपोवन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन राष्ट्र चेतना कला साधना खेल भावना विकसे विश्व मानवी बनी गुजराती विश्व सकल માં વિલસે સ્નેહ સંપ સહકારની સાથે દેતી તું સન્મતિ સૌના સાથને સંગાતે સૌ સિદ્ધ કરે ઉન્નતિ પ્રેમ બંધુતા સમાનતાના પલ પલ પ્રસરે સ્પંદન વંદન અભિનંદન વંદન અભિનંદન વંદન અભિનંદન वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन
B.K. School of Professional and Management Studies, Department of Gujarat University, established in 1976, is one of the oldest and eminent B schools of Gujarat state. The school has been whetting human as well as intellectual skills of new breed of dynamic managers ever since. B.K. School has acquired a unique position in list of top B schools with its attributes like excellent curriculum, experienced faculties, industrial exposure, strong alumni network, academia industry interface. Here we present a video portraying life at our institute.
This motto truly amplifies the soul of the university. Shining like the crown of the vibrant state of Gujarat, Gujarat University has been following the path of excellence throughout its glorious journey in providing the best quality higher education.
योग कर्मसु
Now, let us begin the INYS 2021 with the presence and blessings of the Lord Almighty. As we all know, that light is a symbol of brightness and prosperity. And with the same positivity, before we go ahead with the ceremony, let us invoke the energy by lighting of the lamp. We would like all of you to join us for the lighting of the lamp. Thank you.
शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
Today, we are honored to have with us Mr. Yukin Mongso, advisor at Myanmar Institute of Strategic and International Studies and consultant Mandalay Green City Public Company Limited, Myanmar. We have with us Dr. Rinchen Chofel, member UNCRC Committee Director General and Regional Secretary of South Asia Initiative to End Violence Against Children.
Today, we have the honor of having with us Dr. Puran Chandra Pandey, member of the Board of Trustee, United Nations World Food Program Trust. He is also a resident representative at the Climate Scoreboard, Milton, USA. We have been joined by Dr. V.M. Bansal, CMD, New Delhi Institute of Management, and also by Professor Dr. Himanshu Pandya, Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, India.
Today, we have with us Dr. Prateek Kanchan, Director, B.K.School of Professional and Management Studies, Gujarat University. We have with us Dr. Neelam Panchal, Associate Professor, B.K.School of Professional and Management Studies, Coordinator, Department of Public Policy and Governance. So now, I would like to request our Director, Sir, Dr. Prateek Kanchan, to welcome all the dignitaries and participants here with us. Sir, a heartfelt welcome to you. Dr. Prateek Kanchan has done his BSc in Mathematics, Physics, Chemistry, MA in Marketing, PhD in Advertising, specialization in Integrated Marketing Communications, International Marketing, Marketing Management, and Consumer Behavior. Dr. Kanchan has 2 years of industrial experience and 23 years of experience for teaching at PG level. Sir has also presented 31 papers at national and international conferences, many of them held at various institutes like IIM Kolkata, Kozhikode, and Indore, to name a few. Sir has also, to his credit, edited a book on in-film advertising and brand positioning strategy. Sir has, to his credit, 33 articles and papers published in various souvenirs, journals, newspapers, and newsletters. Sir has also been a member in AICTE Inspection Committee for new and upcoming institutions. Sir's major project on changes in consumer buying behavior of ready-made garments with respect to development of organized physical retailing in Gujarat has been approved by UGC in March 2013. Sir, I would request you to grace us with your kind and wise words. So over to you.
Faculty colleagues, including Dr. Neelam Panchal, administrative staff, other invited guests, and my dear students and research scholars. This INYS on reinventing business practices for sustainability and growth assumes special significance in the light of a very challenging year 2020 due to global pandemic, wherein the entire gamut of business practices across geographies and domains have to redefine themselves in 2021 and further also. Although this is the sixth NYS since 2016, but this is definitely different as compared to all others because of a unique situation. This event itself going completely online is an example to prove it. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Himanshu Pandya, has always been motivating us from time to time in organizing such events in spite of all uncertainties and unpredictabilities which keep on coming from time to time. In the direction of contributing towards research, development, knowledge creation, and knowledge sharing, INYs, along with other events at Gujarat University, B.K. School of Business Management, have proved noteworthy from time to time. I strongly feel that although this event will be in virtual mode, but it will contribute towards significant research development, research output, as well as knowledge sharing between academia, industry, as well as students and researchers. Although this is the sixth in line, but I'm sure it will continue to be like that and something concrete will come out. I, on behalf of my institution and on behalf of the university, extend a very heartfelt welcome to all the delegates over and above the invited speakers, session chairs, keynote speakers, and the student volunteers who have been contributing almost since last more than 2 months in spite of all the busy, tight, and pressing schedules, keeping in mind the corona pandemic, which has not yet got over. Once again, on behalf of all the stakeholders, I welcome one and all. Thank you, and I wish all the best to this event for today as well as for tomorrow. That's from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wise and insightful words. And I'm sure you have supported us, and that's why today we are here. Now we welcome Dr. Neelam Panchal for briefing us about the International Youth Symposium. Ma'am, we welcome you. Dr. Neelam Panchal is an associate professor at B.K. School and in charge of the Department of Public Policy and Governance, B.K. School, Gujarat University. She is coordinating courses like MBA in Public Policy Management, in Business Economics and Public Finance, in Event Management, and PG Diploma in Public Finance and Economics under the umbrella of B.K. School of Professional and Management Studies, Gujarat University. She is also the coordinator of courses of Management Academy programs of B.K. School, like PG Diploma in Finance Management, in Training and Development, in Information Technology Management, and in Materials and Operations Management, running under and coordinator for various courses launched under Institute of Defence Studies and Research at the Gujarat University. Dr. Neelam has worked as a full-time faculty at the Institute of Management, Nirma University. She has completed teaching assignments with Management Development Institute, Murshidabad, Kolkata, Manipur University, Knowledge Consortium of Gujarat, Narmada College Campus, Bharuch, GNFC Bharuch, UGC HRDC, Hyderabad, Indus University, Parul University, Mata Vaishno Devi University, to name a few. During the course of her career, Ma'am has completed the Faculty Development Program in Management from the prestigious Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. She has published more than 120 research articles and more than 20 books. She has developed course materials and cases for the postgraduate courses of MGN CRE, Government of India. She has developed 5 MOOCs and more than 130 e-content modules on various subjects of management, which is a part of the Swayam Prabha DTH channel devoted to telecasting of high-quality educational programs. Ma'am has been the convener of the youth symposiums every year since 2016 at the international level in the Gujarat University. Ma'am, please kindly grace us with your kind words. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and I welcome you all in this inaugural ceremony of the 6th International Youth Symposium on the theme Reinventing Business Management Practices for the Sustainability and Growth. Respected Professor Himanshu Pandya, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Gujarat University, respected guests of honor, our keynote speaker, Dr. Puran Chandra Pandey, Member of the Board of Trustee, UN World Food Programme Trust, Resident Representative at Climate Scorecard, Milton, US. Respected Dr. Rinken Choppel, Member, UNCRC Committee, Director General, Advisor, Myanmar Institute of Strategic and International Studies and Consultant, Mandalay. Respected Dr. V. M. Bansal, CMD, New Delhi Institute of Management, Senior Civil Servant and Served Government of India. Respected B.K.School of Professional and Management Studies, my dear faculty members of the B.K.School student fraternity, participants from different countries including Germany, Japan, Canada, South Africa, Myanmar, Bhutan, Afghanistan, Nepal, India, and so on, and all those who have joined us virtually on this platform, I, on behalf of the organizing committee of the 6th International Youth Symposium, extend my warm welcome on this inaugural function of the 6th International Youth Symposium organized by the B.K. School of Business Management, Gujarat University. I extend my warm welcome to all the learned heads of different schools and departments of the Gujarat University and the faculty members of the Gujarat University, the scholars who have joined us since 2016, and it is keeping growing day by day. Dear learned friends, today, the world is for the generation of the young people, and this present volume of young people is the largest the world has ever had. To mention, India has approximately 600 million people younger than 25 years of age, and almost about 40% of the Indian population is younger and the age group of 13 to 35 years, and that is defined as youth, the power of the nation as per the National Youth Policy. Friends, this much volume of young people is on the earth, and when the whole world is facing the problem of the ecological imbalance due to many reasons known to us, the 6th International Youth Symposium is the theme that is a noble, serious, and a productive dialogue among the youths, among the youth scholars, faculty members, practitioners, managers, entrepreneurs, the leaders, workers, and the NGOs, so that we can reinvent business management practices for the sustainability and growth. The output of this 2-day disclosure on the worldwide in terms of the achievement, roadblocks, and the way forward will enable us developing a framework for the responsible actions towards the long term. Friends, subsequent to the insights gained from the 5 International Youth Symposium and 1 Youth Symposium in collaboration with the International Youth Fellowship South Korea. We have organized this subsequently, and we have learned that the 2015 United Nations 2030 agenda on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals as a part of the Millennium Development Goals are emphasizing on the overall development of the world and the humanity toward the sustainability. We know that the development of the world, the humanity, and it describes a society as a better quality of life for everyone. The present symposium will discuss various achievements, the actions taken not only in India but worldwide, and issues, the challenges that encountered during the fulfillment of the pandemic times, and ways of moving right and optional direction for the fulfillment of the requirement of the sustainability and the growth. So today, I'm very, very happy that we have participants across the globe. We could gather more than 140 ideas, that is in the form of abstracts, and the book called The Souvenir is about to release. The full papers are received, that is 110, and that is also going to be published in 3 edited volumes. And we have also tied up with UGC Care listed journals. So best top 10 papers has been again published in that journal. We have during the symposium full 2 days program, which includes the plenary sessions from the experts across the world, and which is divided into different tracks. We have poster presentation. We have 140 paper presentations that is focusing upon the theme, and then we have a cultural evening at the evening, and the students have prepared the program. Tomorrow on day 2, we have a round table discussion on the 17 sustainable development goals, and on each goal there will be one representative across the globe, and they are going to discuss on the achievements, roadblocks, and the way forward about the sustainable development goals. Importantly, I hope that this International Youth Symposium will provide a good platform to discuss the dialogue, the various issues and the challenges of the sustainable development goals, and roles and initiatives the younger population of the world can do for realizing it. I, once again, on behalf of the organizing committee, welcome all the learned, respected dignitaries, resource persons coming from various parts of the world, delegates from the 15 countries of the world, and in future also we seek your blessings and cooperation for organizing many more such symposiums ahead. Thank you so much and welcome you again.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful description. Definitely, this wouldn't have been possible without your coordination and support. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Puran Chandra Pandey. Thank you, sir, for being here today. We welcome you. Sir is a founding CEO of Dialogue of Civilization Research Institute, a Berlin, Germany-based international think tank, contributor to Springer Nature International's Global Encyclopedia on Sustainable Development Goals, and supplemental policy advisor to governments in China, Germany, India, Rwanda. Dr. Puran Chandra Pandey is currently serving as resident representative of Climate Scorecard, a US climate policy think tank. Previously, Sir has served in senior leadership positions at Nippon Dendro Spat, Bennett Coleman and Company at United Nations. Sir has also contributed launch of some of the biggest public service campaigns, including Teach India, earning the praise from Secretary General of United Nations. Sir's professional work on issues related to sustainability, circular design, sustainable development, climate change, and international treaties, environmental policies, multilateralism, international project collaboration, energy transition, private sector and development cooperation transcends geographies around and all across the world, stands widely quoted nationally, regionally, and internationally. Dr. Puran Chandra holds an MPhil degree in International Studies from Jawaharlal National University, New Delhi, and has been trained at Asian Productivity Organization, Japan, United Nations in New York, Swedish Institute, Stockholm and UNEP Institute on Environment for Sustainable Development, Shanghai. Sir, we are all ears for your motivating and kind words. So over to you.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed for your kind introduction. And first of all, I would like to thank B.K. School of Professional and Management Studies under Gujarat University for inviting me to this very apt, appropriate, and timely conference, which is the 6th International Youth Symposium being held in Gujarat. I would like to really thank the Vice Chancellor, the Pro Vice Chancellor, Director of the B.K. School, in particular, Madam Dr. Neelam Panchal, who kindly reached out to me to give me this opportunity to be able to share some of the thoughts and ideas, which I think is very, very essential and very, very important. I would also like to be in the middle of some of the very fine speakers who will be speaking alongside me. And it's an honor for me to be able to be here and have a chance to be able to share some of my thoughts. The very time that we are into, which is being ravaged and hit hard by COVID-19, is a very special time that we are in. And that has also changed very much, to a very large extent, the way we work, the way we behave, the way we have been trying to put our time together and be in a position to see a new normal. So we are no longer in a normal time. And this normal time is really going to take probably a lot of time before we go to pre-COVID level. So we have got to really understand and realize the very value of the time and the new normal that we have been put in by default. So we are into a default kind of a time situation, a time log, and we are going to be taking a lot of time before we really go back to normal after we have been able to build back better, build back fairer, and build back everything in a very, very sustainable way. Having said it, history is very, very important subject, and I have been a student of international studies, and history is a part of that. History is very important because we need not really go back into the past time and try and rest on the laurels, or maybe we have made some mistakes and we end up cursing ourselves with regard to what we did, and it was not good, and therefore, we are suffering with the consequences of the actions which we did a couple of years back or a couple of decades back. So my take on history is that we must go back into the history, try and figure out some lessons that we can pick up, and try and reimpose those lessons on the current times that we are in. And this history lesson is very, very important. And I will really like to take all of us back to 1983. And that was probably for the first time when UN began to think about human environment and environment per se. And the General Assembly in 1983 met in New York City, and they decided to do something about things which are not beginning to take shape, and were trying to put a lot of pressure on the environment. And the pressure on the environment was creating various problems and challenges for the human being. So first, for the first time, in 1983, the first commission, which is very well known as Brundtland Commission, was set up by the then Secretary General. And the whole idea was to find a person who could do that job pretty well. So they tried to go around and found one very, very uh, fine person who was not only politically very sound, but was also somebody who was academically very strong in terms of human health and science, because the person came from this background, which was, health background and the science background and public policy background. And she was none other than Gro Brundtland, the first woman prime minister of Norway. And she was given the job to come out with a report which would try and figure out what really lies in the future, both for environment and climate, and how will that environment and climate will more likely impact on the health of the people. So 1983 and 2020, I mean, you can travel back in time and you can see for yourself that we are back in time when some very reasonable people thought about how can disease and climate and environmental degradation could perhaps impact the very essence of the human well-being. So we are full circle, and we are battling the disease which is Corona 19. And this is what Gro Brundtland said in 1983. He came out with a report called Our Common Future. And those of us who have not gone through the report, I would really very sincerely recommend that we go through that report and see what that report was all about and where we are in to a new normal with regard to the time. So 1983, then it cuts across to 1990, when the first IPCC report was brought out, which also became the basis for setting up of UNFCCC in Berlin. And in Berlin, UNFCCC came, and we had the first COP in Berlin, which prepared the pathway for the Kyoto Protocol, which was COP3. And Kyoto Protocol, therefore, became the vehicle treaty, which now subsumes Paris Climate Agreement, which took place in 2015. So I would really like to come to 2015 from historical perspective and say that three major events happened in 2015. The first major event that happened in 2015 was Paris Climate Agreement, which is a legally binding treaty on countries to commit to keep the climate change to 2 degrees Celsius, but ideally 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to the pre-industrial level. The second thing which happened concurrently in 2015 was Sustainable Development Goals, which were brought out by the UN. And this was an improvement from Millennium Development Goal, which were undertaken by the UN, and they expired in 2015. So SDGs became the overriding vehicle around sustainability, human well-being, what institutions can do with regard to safeguarding climate environment, and therefore, by default, the human being and the overall well-being of the humans. We also had in 2015 a new treaty which was signed in Paris, being led by India now, which is known as International Solar Alliance, which also committed to work very closely with the UN, Paris Climate Treaty, and try and see to it that we begin to take control of greenhouse gases, which we have been putting too much back into the environment and the climate. So this is where history is very important for us to go back, learn a few lessons, and see where we are and what we can really do with regard to keeping our future more sustainable, which will eventually lead us to better sustainability, greater national growth and development, which will finally go on to aggregate at the global level. So from 2015, I traveled to 2020. 2020, as everybody knows and says and believes, we are into a very difficult scenario. And this scenario is a scenario which is going to take quite a few years before we really try and go back to pre-COVID levels. It has translated in several ways. Uh, our economies are down, our well-being is not in place. We are behaving in a new normal, like we are all meeting virtually. Otherwise, we would have been somewhere else meeting face to face with everybody. So, economy, human well-being, environment, of course, has been a little better because economy was not doing very well. So there is a very deep correlation between human health, climate, and economic well-being, which is economic growth and development. So what do we really do from here on? I mean, there are very few options, and these options are very hard. In life, sometimes we have one easy option, another little difficult. But this time that we are in, we do not have any easy options to exercise. All the options on the table are very hard. So whichever option that we are going to pick up is going to be a very hard option that we are going to take, live with it, and try and see that we can do as best a job as possible with regard to getting back to pre-COVID-19 levels. So now, if you also look at the current times where we are doing this conference, we're also having a big meeting going on in Davos, which is in Switzerland, where they aggregate and have many people from politics, academia, think tanks, consulting firms, businesses. They all come together and try and talk about the current, you know, uh, issues and challenges and what human beings need to be doing in order to prosper, flourish, and thrive. And one of the sessions which I was a part of for this Davos meeting, uh, uh, one thing was very clear that everybody now believes in the fact that both by default and by choice, we will be confronting two scenarios. Scenario one is going to be, you know, the human health part, which is something which we are seeing in a very vivid way, which is COVID 19. And the second part of the problem that is going to be happening in times to come is going to be climate change. So everybody in Davos agreed, and this was a fairly, prominent people, a big congregation. They also ran a survey, and they said both by likelihood and also by impact, human health and climate change are the two aspects which are going to be there for a fairly long time. And they also said, in no uncertain terms, that corona can be cured, where we can have vaccine, we can follow some norms, we can achieve herd immunity, and we can get over with COVID-19 in a couple of years from now, if not immediately. But if something goes wrong at the same scale and impact to our climate and to our environment, we will not have any vaccine to be able to cure of the hazard or the challenges which the climate change can bring about in a very devastating ways. And that is very clear and very visible, where we have more pollution, both air and otherwise. We have more CO2 in the environment. We are driving our cars, which is running on the fossil fuel, which means diesel and oil. And we are really living sometimes beyond our means, which means that we are spending more money and trying to see to it that we have a bigger car, we have a bigger home, we have, air conditioning in all our homes and every room of the home, and everything is really getting complicated in a way that is really slipping beyond the powers of the people to be able to put back, the green and the clean environment back into the nature. So, having said it, if these are the two major problems which everybody is saying is going to be hitting us pretty hard beyond COVID-19, then what really do we really need to do? And how can we really put our house in order whereby we create less damage to the environment and try and create or build an ecosystem whereby we put less emission into the environment, because that environment is very, very important, because we live in it, we sleep in it, we send our kids to the schools. So we are this part of very fragile ecosystem, and everybody is now saying, both by likelihood and also by impact, climate change and human disease are the two very big problems that are going to hit us or continue to hit us hard over a period of time. So what do we really do? There are only three things which we can consider doing. The one is that we have to really try and put some kind of a check and balance on our extravagance. And we don't really become bigger by having a bigger home. We don't really become richer by putting air conditioning in every room of our homes. We don't really become richer by buying a bigger car, which is running on diesel and fossil fuel. So part of the problem is the human being himself or herself. So we really need to put some kind of a check and control on our behavior, on our conduct, and also how we spend our money and resources. This is something which is very, very important, and we will really need to put ourselves into a scenario whereby we revise our behavior and try and improve on our conduct, whereby we become more educated about the harm that we are causing to the immediate surrounding, which is air, water, waste, very, very important. So we have to really mend our ways in a way that we can put some check and control on our habits. So we will really have to consider this. The second part is going to be about the private sector, which is very, very important. And we cannot really achieve much on climate change and environment and sustainability unless our private sector begins to realize about what they've been doing with regard to their, production practices, processes, supply chains, and the use of technology. I mean, these things are very, very important. And if you really sit and put everything on a piece of paper, it's very simple mathematics. That if you were to really apply sustainable methods, processes, supply chains, technology, IT processes, you are only going to really earn quite a bit in the medium and long term. So you can perhaps figure out that you're spending more on improving on your processes and supply chains, but eventually you are not. I mean, the back of the envelope calculation would be that if you really put $1 in improving your supply chain and the processes of production today, over the next 5 to 7 years, you are really going to earn $7 simply because you improved the process and tried to become greener. So private sector has got to come on board, and they have got to remember that they are the part of the society within which they have been operating. So it is not CSR, it is not anything. It is basically about the responsible conduct of the private sector, where they need to really remember and recognize that if they really do not really take up the cause of bettering the environment within which they have been operating, they will very soon go out of the business. I mean, I'm telling it very loud and clear. So businesses in the private sector, they have got to really remember that they need to be responsible uh, in their production, which is very important. And therefore, if you really look at 17 goals of the SDG, goal number 12 is very clear, where it says that consumption and production both have to be responsible. And then goal number 13 is all about climate action. So SDG goals are not really haphazard. They have been thought through in a very thoughtful way. And therefore, we also need to go back to these goals and see to it what it says, what it means, and what can we really do to improve the situation, which means the human well-being, economic growth and development, and also the private sector participation into it. And then the final piece of the puzzle is going to be around the governments. Governments are very important, as are we and private sector and academic institutes. Government has got to really remember that anything is as good as a law which they legislate. And therefore, the legal instruments, and this is where you have Paris Climate Agreement, which is a legally binding treaty. You have International Solar Alliance, which only talks about renewable energy that we can produce and use and generate. And it also talks about what can countries do with regard to not only following the commitments which they have made to the UN, but also take initiatives in order to see to it that domestically they continue to improve on the pledges to the private involvement of the private sector, and also continue to report in a manner on how they have been evolving and developing and trying to improve on the pledges which they have made to both to the UN through SDG goals and also through climate agreement in the Paris. So governments have got to really remember that they have got to be very careful in terms of what they've been doing on the ground. And one of the things would be to keep people on the side and legislate in a way that everybody can follow through legislation, and government can also continue to improve on what it has been doing with regard to improving both the climate and environment on the one hand, economic growth and development, which is very important. If there is no money with the government, we can't really thrive and survive. And then we as human beings have got to really put a lot of check and control on our habits, on our lifestyles, which I mean basically by habits, I'm saying we have got to really see to it that we live a lifestyle which is conducive to the environment. I will finally conclude by saying that it's very important that we follow the rule of the game. Everybody does, they work pretty well. And we really move together and thrive in a way that we coexist both with the nature and also with our own lifestyles. And these are the two very interrelated propositions, and we cannot really dissect them from each other. So finally, I would say just two things to conclude. One is that we are in a situation, as everybody knows and recognizes, that we are getting hit hard by COVID-19, and everything is changing for the worse or for the better. We don't know. We will only know in a few months' time from now, or maybe in a year or two, by the time we are back to normal. And therefore, I would only like to say that we also have some role for the academic institutions. And that role, when I say some role, I mean the big role. And that role is that how academic institutions are really going to do, their training and teaching, the way they teach. Will they really go online all the time, or it'll be a hybrid learning mode? I don't know. I mean, we have really got to see and wait for a little while. But the role of the academic institution is very important going forward because they have got to produce knowledge, they have got to train people, all of us included. They have got to include the private sector as well, so that academic institutions can tell them what they need to do, how they need to improve, both on the supply chain and the production processes, which are very, very important. And finally, in India, we have roughly about 500 million students who are enrolled, both up to higher secondary level of education and then higher education as well. So these 500 million students who are enrolled in one school or another in some part of the country, including those who are registered for their higher degrees across the country, they are very, very important. We need to really guide and help and handhold these people and tell them about scenarios, situations, and what they really need to be doing with regard to not do anything which might cause catastrophe to the immediate environment and the climate, because everybody is going to suffer with what is really going to happen, which is the climate crisis. And finally, I would only say that, we have got to be optimistic because sky also rests on optimism and hope. And I'm reminded of, a very a small but very significant building in Oslo, which hosts the distribution and a lot of training programs which they undertake on peace and conflict and hope and commitment. And besides that, the Oslo Peace Prize is also held in this particular Oslo Peace Center, which earlier was a small railway station but got converted into this Oslo Peace Center. And every year on 10th of December, the Peace Prize is given to the Nobel Peace Laureate. And if you really ever go to this Oslo Peace Center building, there are three words which are very vividly written on the facade of the building. And these three words are, and in the same sequence that I'm going to utter. The first one is all about broad-mindedness. So it says that humans have got to be broad-minded. We can't afford to be narrow-minded any longer. The second piece is about hope and optimism. And the third one is all about the commitment which we make. In the middle rests the hope. And I would only say that we have got to be optimistic, we have got to be hopeful, we have got to be committed to our own actions that we undertake at our own individual levels and around. And finally, we have got to be large-hearted and broad-minded to see to it that we do not really do anything which can adversely impact the climate, can adversely impact all of us, and adversely impact everybody, including our growth, which is economic growth, development, and then the way we are going to really thrive, both on the wealth and also on the power, because wealth and power are again very interdependent. And India, being a country which is fast on the track to growth, 5 trillion economy, which I'm very sure will happen. But for that to happen, we will have to really take some very conscious decision of living very closely with the nature and see to it that we do not at any point in time undertake any activity which can cause enormous harm or cause challenges to the nature and the environment that we all closely live in. So I would really like to thank once again B.K.School and Gujarat University for inviting me to this very opportune and timely symposium, which really would really take us a long way as we build our future better and build a future better and fairer and in a sustainable way as well. So thank you once again, Madam Neelam Panchal, for being so kind, and you have been so nice, sending invitation and mail and everything. So I would really like to credit my availability and my being able to be here all due to you and all the follow-up which you have been doing so diligently. So thank you once again. And I look forward to coming to your school maybe in a time when we get back to a normal time. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us insight on human health, economy, climate change, showing us the collaboration between. So we'll definitely try to follow the path guided by you. Now, I would like to inform everyone here that in totality, we have received around 150 abstracts and ideas on theme which has been published in so it's time to release a book of souvenir, release of Symposium souvenir. May I request the dignitaries to join hands in releasing souvenir virtually. In addition, we have received much for joining hands for this of book. In addition, we have received nearly 100 full papers which has been published of Symposium, Business and Society in New India. Now I would request dignitaries to release the book. Thank you so much once again for joining hands virtually for this book release. Now, I would request dignitaries to release second book on reinventing business strategies and function along with UGC care listed journal Symposium. Thank you so much for this virtual book. Now, I would like to take opportunity to welcome our Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Dr. Himanshu Pandya, to address the participants and dignitaries. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Professor Dr. Himanshu Pandya is Vice Chancellor, Gujarat University, and has been appointed as 17th Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University. Born on 8 November 1971, he started his academic career in 1995 as a lecturer. As a scientist, he is working on developmental methods for utilization of novel techniques in plant sciences, bioinformatics, forensic biology, and climate change impacts management. Sir has always strived to ensure that research conducted and guided by him is aimed to address fundamental needs of the society as well as interdisciplinary initiatives since last 23 years. During his long career and as an academician, Professor Pandya has coordinated more than 310 academic programs and more than 180 publications of national and international repute. Sir, kindly grace us with your kind and wise words.
Namaskar. Good morning to one and all present here. It's been a pleasure for all of us that we are discussing reinventing the business practices for sustainability and growth. I would endorse my previous speaker where he elaborated more on climate change, sustainable goals, and how we are going to achieve the growth index for development. Friends, when we say reinventing, first we need to understand the objective of reinvention. I tell you, in this pandemic, whatever references we have, whatever textbooks we have, whatever theories we are going to follow, it is questioned at large. We are not confident that what would be there in future. Mind well, this is not new to us. Just 2-3 years back, there was a swine flu. Again came in Congo, Nipah, Zika, Ebola, and whatnot. Being a researcher working in a laboratory, what I feel is whatever we are doing, it is not at all in tune with the nature. And when we are not in tune with the nature, we have to be ready with the consequences. And that is what we are paying globally. This time with this COVID-19, the damage is huge and to the all sector. And that's how, it forces us to think the practices what we are doing for our living and for our well-being. In Indian culture, people say that the growth should be sustainable. We talk of a growth which doesn't carry any burden, any sort of loss to the nature. We call it Akshunna development, sustainable development. How it was possible? One thing is sure, whatever is happening around us, it is coming in a newer format, but it is happening at regular intervals. The climate change, the environmental disorders, the business practices, and the rapid changes in theories and understanding. This is not new to the world. Many a time when we talk to our scholars, we discuss this. Can we restrict all this? We strongly believe we cannot restrict any of this happening around us. What we can do is we can minimize the damage only. Friends, people say that education brings wisdom. And what is this wisdom? If you can understand the nature appropriately or in a way what we are supposed to. See, that is enough for everybody's need. But we cannot satisfy anybody's greed. So in that way, if we can understand the happenings around us, if we can visualize the future, and if we can tune it with the nature, we can restrict the damages only. Friends, when we say rules and regulations framed by the apex bodies to reduce the carbon footprint and to have a healthy and prosperous environment around us, do we have any sort of records available with us that practicing this would restrict the damage? I have a doubt. Whether we name it a climate change impacts or whether we name it environmental disorder, the natural calamities, the havocs and whatnot, we cannot. This is something beyond our imagination. So what people used to do earlier, they used to live in synchronization with the events around them. They were lucky to observe all the season in their utmost nature. What we found today is, lot of cyclones are happening, and avalanches are happening, and earthquakes and forest fires and whatnot. I think these are all man-made disasters. Even this current pandemic, it was due to the carelessness of some people in the laboratory practices, what leads to a situation where we have a great loss of life on this earth. But we need to grow. We need to undertake the business practices. Otherwise, the survival would be different. So first, I would request international community to sit and to decide what exactly and where exactly we want to reach. Everybody is talking about, harm less to the nature. But then how? People hardly talk about this. So if we can minimize our requirements, our needs, then and then we can help the nature. The way we are extracting the natural resources, either it's a fossil fuel or the forest products, and the way we are exploiting the air, water, and earth, we are nailing our coffins. That is for sure. But with education, we have the wisdom. We have that courage to stand by with the nature and to work for the better tomorrow. When we say the business opportunities and rethinking about the business practices, I totally agree. I fully agree with the title. Because only with this current pandemic, we have changed all our habits of going to market, purchasing things, and looking at the events. I think this pandemic has led to so much of wisdom to the mankind. We have restricted our requirements. We have restricted our health investigation programs. We have restricted our meetings. We have restricted each and every program. And see, today only we are meeting virtually, so we could save so much of resources. You don't need to travel to Ahmedabad. You don't need to come physically here. You don't need to book hotel. You don't need to book transportation. It has saved a lot of things. Again, reinventing the business management. So meeting and communicating with the people and conveying the thoughts to the different community, it has changed. It has changed the world. In a way, it has become more fruitful. That within no time you can communicate or convey what you want to say. So if you really want to think about the future business practices, we need to understand the temperament of the society and the market first. And I would say this is a very dynamic market. Now with this online facility and various platforms, a person sitting in the tribal area somewhere in the forest is able to sell their products to the city man somewhere sitting in the New York or Tokyo. This is the beauty of online marketing and platforms. So you come up with new ideas, evolve with the current practices, and present it to the world. People will accept it. With a lot of unicorns around us, the business practices are changing rapidly, and it is leading to something new, what your references in textbooks are not referring at all. We need to write a new chapter to sort of practices. And I would request all you youngsters, those who are attending this webinar, that if you really want to lead the world with your own thoughts and practices, you need to, offer something substantial, something very unique, which is widely accepted by the community at large. This is the 6th webinar in a series by INYS. I congratulate B.K.School of Business Management, especially Dr. Neelam Panchal, for all these commanding efforts she is making every year, and she is bringing all the international community and experts to the Gujarat University campus. Of course, this time it is virtual. I congratulate and thank all the participants, those who have participated in this wonderful event, where we are talking of future and futuristic approaches to lead the world and to fill the gaps in between the past and present scenario of business management. Thank you very much for calling me here. Wish you all the good luck, all the very best.
Thank you so much, sir, for your words. And I'm sure we are all taking the message. It is enough for everyone needs, but it is not enough to satisfy everybody's greeds. We are all taking this message back, sir. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our esteemed guest, Dr. Rinshen Shofel, who is the Director General of the South Asia Initiative to End Violence Against Children. He is a doctor by profession. Previously, he has held the position of Executive Director of the National Commission for Women and Children, the Royal Government of Bhutan, and has championed the promotion and protection of the rights of women and children with distinction. At the regional level, he is a well-known and highly regarded expert on gender and human rights and has supported many agencies, including the SAARC Secretariat, in many key regional projects and initiatives. Dr. Shofel has extensive experience in working with the ministries of women and children of the governments in South Asia, as well as the United Nations, NGOs, and research organizations in the SAARC region. Sir, please grace us with your motivational and wise words, and we welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much for this introduction. And I, right at the outset, extend my gratitude and appreciation to the organizers, particularly those who actually got me connected to this important summit. I'm extremely grateful that the B.K.School and Gujarat University organizing this 6th important symposium or summit actually provided an opportunity for me to extend my greetings to all the participants. As many of the eminent speakers already stated, we are all going through an unprecedented humanitarian crisis that has engulfed our universe, both at the global level as well as in our own homes and environment within which we live day to day. But nonetheless, as the 2020 progressed into 2021, humanity has been able to come to terms with the new normal. And as the Honorable Vice Chancellor said, it also presents opportunities for us to find a new way of, moving our lives forward. And sometimes indirectly, and as a side benefit, working in the interest of either substantive resource saving in terms of creating a breathing space for the environment, and also trying to see the opportunity of creating wider dimensions of our existence by creating new opportunities. As he said, a farmer in a remote community having access to a market in the heart of the urban centers. To me, the past 1.5 years or so has been an extremely difficult time, in the sense that immaterial how badly all sections of the society has been impacted by the pandemic. The biggest brunt of the pandemic and its push factors has been on children, and the type of violence against children that has been triggered by this pandemic is just so unsurmountable. And I'm sure every day when you open your newspapers or you go online and then read the news, majority of the pages or sections are just filled with how much impact the pandemic had on children. And as someone who has devoted almost 3 decades now trying to champion the cause of women and children, and in the past 1.5 decades spearheading the movement to end violence against children in South Asia, the past 1.5 year has multiplied the amount of burden on children in an area, like in a region like ours, where we are already battling with huge burden of violence against children. So today, as before I came to this event, I already had a session with my India Civil Society platform, which is referred to as the NACG EVOC India, which is the South Asia CIVOC's civil society platform to end violence against children. We are currently having today a day review on child sexual abuse and exploitation in Orissa. And we are trying to understand how in this new normal are we going to take forward the challenges of addressing the need to create safer spaces for children, not just within the territory beyond your so-called safe environment of homes, but within the home itself, where it is supposed to be the safest place, but there is so much violence and so much abuse of children taking place by near, dear, and so-called trusted members of the family and community. So today, as you have this important youth summit, there are 2-3 things which I thought I would bring to the table, not daring to go into a lot of other areas beyond my territory, mainly because there are so many eminent speakers, so many that has much more wisdom than I have, and so many who actually do on the ground work in terms of addressing those challenges than I do. What I personally feel, having had significant opportunity for discourse across sectors, across different dimensions of service delivery entities in 2020, the need now to ensure that there is significant effort to create convergence and partnerships in terms of different institutional entities that provide services for children and young people seems to be the call of the day. Today, as I'm sure all of you know, we have so many organizations, so many philanthropic entities, so many donor agencies, so many UN entities, even our own, domestic, welfare organizations. Everyone, there's so much mushrooming of that at the end of the day, more effort is paid to coordinate rather than to deliver services. So from that point of view, I think the need is to now create convergence and partnerships and see how strategically we can join hands, share in the learning, share in the effort to address issues and challenges on the ground. So that is one. Number two, it is important now to draw attention to grassroots action, grassroots responses, and to ensure that communities are empowered, community organizations are empowered, and community members are being provided the necessary skills, capacity, resources to ensure that they are able to take care of their own environment and take care of their own safety and security issues and help build a more proactive and responsive community to help each other. Third, that I'm now strongly advocating for, both at national, at the regional and global level, is that we need to now ensure that we target young people, we need to target children, and we need to target them in a way that they are entrusted with the capacity to come together, create networks, and be able to help each other in terms of strengthening their peer networks and support groups so that they can take care of themselves, both as important entities of a community and society, but also contribute meaningfully, whether it is in terms of addressing issues of the community, whether it is issues related to meaningful participation in the politics of the environment or the society they live in, or to ensure that they become a surveillance mechanism, monitor or yardstick to ensure that whether it is violence against children, whether it is violence against young people, whether it is issues that are not working on the ground, whether there are issues related to adequate support that is required to be given so that communities are able to cope up with any other disasters, particularly now in the current situation with the pandemic. So if we are able to use young people and children more meaningfully, then I think we will be able to create a ground which can then support a larger national agenda of a more responsive governments or state institutions that can react positively with their own people. At the end of the day, the COVID pandemic has taught us two things. One is that no matter what happens, you still need to live your life day in and day out. So you have to find a way of adapting to the new normal, and you have to find a way of addressing the challenges that you are confronted with by looking at other innovative approaches. And that includes, trying to look at not just standard structured mechanisms of the past, but looking at opportunities such as the wide range of opportunities for marketing domestic products to meet urban demands within this COVID response limitations and restrictions. But more importantly, I think humanity needs to find a newer meaning in terms of our spirituality. It's only peace that can bring everybody together and guide us and help us to adapt to such enormous humanitarian crisis by being, able to convince ourselves that you are part of a larger entity. What you do affects everyone, and you have a responsibility to contribute to a healthy, happier, and peaceful society and community, and that you have a responsibility to extend your help to your neighbor or to your community and society, so that we are able to generate a community that is built on love, affection, and care, and not on differences of you know everything that politics or other elements that are not constructive can create among us. So basically, for me, I think involving young people and children as not just pillars for humanity as we move forward, but as the important advocates for peace, which is fundamental for human existence. I think we need to also address spirituality aspects with young people and children and guide them in terms of, volunteerism, guide them in terms of promoting unity and harmony, and also to be able to reach out to those who are not very fortunate, so that we create better goodwill and also create a society that is more harmonious and happy. I believe youth are the best advocates for that, because it is their world, it is their future that they have to construct and build. And they can only do that on love and affection and care, not so much on all the things that we hear and see in this day and age. The pandemic has killed more people than the two world wars, and it doesn't have to be that way. I think we can actually make sure that the next move should be creating a pandemic of love, affection, and happiness for humanity. I want to end here by thanking the Gujarat University and B.K. School organizers for this opportunity. I do not want to touch on my other fundamental aspects of rights and freedom and what I do to ensure that voices of children are heard. Because I think at the end of the day, I think if we can create a more caring and happier society, I think the voices can be heard, rights can be upheld, freedoms can be nurtured, and I think we will have a much happier society than we are having now. So with this, I congratulate the organizers. I am so happy to hear from the two previous speakers I caught, including Professor Pandey and the Vice Chancellor. And I thank Dr. Nilamji for the opportunity in coordinating my participation in this. I bring you greetings from Bhutan, the land of happiness. Hopefully, we will see a better 2021 than the 2020. Thank you very much.
Definitely. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us an insight into your concern. Promise to thrive together for a better and peaceful tomorrow. Now, I would like to request our guest of honor, Mr. Yu Ken Mong So. Thank you, sir, for being a part of this ceremony. We welcome you, sir. Mr. Kin Mong So is analyst and researcher at Mandali Green City Public Corporation Limited, Myanmar. Mr. Kin is consultant cum lecturer for a number of private and public organizations for their rationalization and capacity building to prepare for the China's Belt and Road Initiative or One Belt One Road Initiative in Mandalay and Myanmar at large. So, used to be a national consultant with AOB and ODI for projects in Mandalay. His previous professions enable him to acquire international corporate culture and best workplaces practice. So, was a cost controller with international hotel managements, including Accor in France, Sakura Group in Japan, the Dona Hotel International in Singapore. Sir is currently a secretary of Political Science Alumni Association University of Mandali. Sir is also a founding secretary of MBA Alumni Association with University of Mandali. Sir has been listed as one of the founding members of Myanmar China One Belt One Road Entrepreneurs Development Association, which is the result of Second China Asian Entrepreneurs Forum under the theme of jointly progressing on innovation-driven ground and embracing new economic era in Asia. And Sir is dedicated to lifelong studies of Chindia, that is, rise of China and India for Myanmar's future. Sir, we are all ears for your kind and motivating words. So,
Thank you, MC, for your generous introduction. Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and great students. Thank you, Director Dr. Pratik Kanchan and faculty member of B.K.School of Professional and Management Study, Gujarat University. I really appreciate Dr. Neelan Pancha, BK SPMS Coordinator, Department of Public Policy and Governance, conveners for your collective and impressive initiative for today's 6th International Youth Symposium. I am really honored to be invited as a chief guest at this very auspicious inauguration function, which is aimed to promote young talented Indian. Youth is the most important and dynamic segment of the population in any country. No doubt, the BKSPMS has real power and influence because Director Dr. Pratik Kanchan and the faculty member really empower the talented youngster who are being trained to become future leader of India and beyond. Dear great students, you must know that people don't have real power unless they really empower others. I am very delighted to have this opportunity to make a short address. Let me start by congratulating what BKS PMS has achieved so far since 1976. Like many informed people from different parts of the world, I am very much aware that India has been advancing unprecedentedly since it introduced Loot East policy in 1990s, now ADI policy. Change is always constant and inevitable. Therefore, reinventing is a must for the ability to exist all the time. In the 21st century, good practices in economic, politics, and ethics are extremely important for sustainability and growth. The theme of the symposium, Reinventing Business Management Practice for Sustainability and Growth, is very timely and relevant. Sustainable development requires sustainable democracy and peace. Capacity building and knowledge sharing are becoming a good practice in this closely integrated world. Humbly, I visited India very extensively. I have been the incredible India for more than 20 times, 20. I have been engaging with different Indian friends from different walks of life, including student, diplomat, academician, think tank, business entrepreneurs, and commoners. Thanks to my fruitful interaction with Indian friends, I learned many valuable things from them and get inspired by the Asian Indian concept of Basuhaiba Kutumbakam. You know that means the entire world is one family. Action speak louder than word. A human world which has more than 7.8 billion people is full of conspiracy, controversy, and conflict. But good things happen every day because of good individual, good organization, good institution, and good nation. The entire world is debating about the 21st century as Asian century because of significant economic and demographic trend in Asia. The rise of Myanmar giants neighbor India and China. Chandria, which was coined in 2004 by Indian economist and politician Jiran Ramage, fascinated pandits and investors in the West. Chandria finally came to fruition as a force of mutual peace and prosperity. The Asian century referred to the paramount role that Asia is expected to play in the 21st century due to its increasing economy and demographic trend. The concept of the Asian century gained wider acceptance following the rapid economic growth of China and India since 1980, which elevated both of two nations to rank of the world's largest economy. It is predicted that India is to become fifth largest economy in 2025, third largest by 2030. In fact, India has already stood third largest economy of the world in terms of purchasing power parity. Recently, the economy of South Korea has surpassed Russia, Brazil, and Canada and ranked 10 in the world's biggest economy. Asia as a whole has achieved many unprecedented things. This will in turn contribute to the materialize the Asian century, in which Asian politics and culture will inspire the rest of the world. Dear great student, you are very lucky to be Indian. India is inarguably one of the oldest civilizations in the world. The term civilization basically means that the level of development at which people live together peacefully in community. India has the longest continuous history in the world. History rise and history fall. History alive and exciting. History offers us opportunity to learn great lesson. History forces us to just think as they really are without injecting bias into any situation. In connection with India history and its influence in ASEAN country, I had a chance to read a spellbound book written by my sister-like Indian friend. The book is all about India's glorious past and promising future to engage with its traditional bound nation in ASEAN in general and Thailand in particular. The name of the book is Reimagining India-Thailand Relation, a Multilateral and Bilateral Perspective. Dr. Reena Mawar, the Secretary of Association of Asia Scholars in New Delhi, extensively visited ASEAN region for various field research and interview more than 30 individuals, including myself and Bertil Lindner, a Swedish journalist, author, and strategic consultant who has been writing about Asia for nearly 4 decades. The author used more than 200 different reliable sources to provide a wider scope in the book to highlight a fact that how India is important for ASEAN and how ASEAN is important amid global power transition. Dr. Reena asked me to write a book review as I am informed scholar from Myanmar, one of the members of the ASEAN, which is made of 10 nations: Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Myanmar's geopolitical significance attract attention of its giant neighbor and various powers in the region and beyond. The US President Obama praised in 2020 I came Myanmar because of the importance of your country. You live at the crossroad of East and South Asia. You border the most populated nation on the planet. You have a history that reaches back thousands of years and the ability to help determine the destiny of the fastest growing region of the world. The ASEAN in general and Myanmar in particular and India are destined to play complementary role in this age of Asian century. In my book review, I quote on H.G. Wells, who wrote of Ashok in his book, The Outline of History. Amid the tens of thousands of names of monarchs that crowd the column of history, their majesty and graciousness and serenities and royal highness and the light, the name of Ashok shined and almost alone is stirred. From the Volga to Japan, his name is still honored. China, Tibet, and even India, though it left its doctrine, preserve the tradition of his greatness. More living men cherish his memory today than have ever heard the name of Constantine or Charlemagne. What I'm trying to say is that India, with glorious past and promising future, offer tremendous opportunity for the young talented Indian student, especially for those who are pursuing their respective field of study at BKSPMS. Gujarat is one of the largest economy in India. More than that, Gujarat is one of the most industrially developed state of India and a manufacturing hub. In 2003, I had a chance to interview then Indian IT Minister, Mr. Arun Chaudhary. During his visit to Myanmar, he said that India's growth and progress are very much linked to the contribution of the young and talented Indian population. Every student of management study know what is meaning of the best way to predict the future is to create it, inspired by Peter Drucker, the father of modern management. India government is gearing up to successfully implement its various regional connectivity infrastructure projects to create a bright future for its younger generation by linking ASEAN and by diversifying its market to reflect its at ease policy. India has two main connectivity projects in my country, Myanmar. First, Kaladan Multimodal Transport Project, which is a US 500 million project connecting the eastern Indian seaport of Kolkata with Sitwe seaport in Rakhine State in Myanmar by sea. In Myanmar, it will then link Sitwe seaport to Palawa in Chin State via the Kaladan River boat route, and then from Palawa by road to Mizoram State in Northeast India. Four Northeast Indian states share border with Myanmar. They are Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram. Myanmar and India share more than 1,600 kilometer long border. Second, India-Myanmar-Thailand Trilateral Highway Project. It is a more than 1,360 kilo long highway under construction to open Northeast India, collectively known as eight sister state, to be India gateway to the ASEAN, one of the fastest growing regions of the world and centrality of Asia trade and commerce, as well as Indo-Pacific or Asian Pacific strategy. As the fastest growing economy today, India is home to fifth of world youth. Half of its population of 1.3 billion is below the age of 25, and a quarter is below the age of 14. India's young population is its most valuable asset and most pressing challenge. To make a long story short, various international reports reveal that India is heavily investing human capital development. India introduced new national education policy 2020. The good news is that I very often communicate with Indian professor Dr. Kiran Hazarika, a member of University Grant Commission. He made a call to me on 4th January this year. This is very regular day for Myanmar. When we were celebrating 73rd anniversary of Myanmar independence. And he congratulated on Myanmar independence. We had a long conversation and exchanged view on Myanmar-India relation, prospect of India project in Myanmar, and challenges and opportunity amid COVID-19 pandemic, the global power transition, and the reorganization of global supply chain. In conclusion, the first Prime Minister of India, Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru, said, as in the past, so in the future, the people of India will stand shoulder to shoulder with the people of Myanmar, and whether we have to share good fortune or ill fortune, we shall share it together. This is a great and solemn day, not only for Myanmar, but for India and for the whole of Asia. Dear great student of BKS PMS, I have message for you. You are the future leader of India and beyond. Be true and just. Love and cherish your parents and teachers. Love your neighbor as yourself and your country more than yourself. You have a bright future to empower others both at home and abroad. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, sir, for your encouraging and empowering words. And we loved the way you told us that people don't have the real power unless they empower others. Now, we would like to introduce Dr. V.M. Bansal, who is the chairman and CEO of New Delhi Institute of Management, New Delhi, heading the NDIM board, which comprises of 2 Padma Vibhushan and 1 Padma Bhushan awardees, 6 former chief secretaries, Government of India, Chief Election Commissioner of India, former Supreme Court judge, and internationally decorated retired Air Chief Marshal and Army General since August 2010, working with the mission to provide highest quality of management education with continuous corporate connect and international exposure to the MBA students of India at affordable cost as a payback to the society and improving upon the governance and management of education systems in India. Sir, we welcome you.
Thank you so very much. I'm really grateful and honored to get this invite, first of all, and grateful that you people accommodated me because I was caught up into a couple of other engagements which I could not help. Being chairperson of the Education Committee of the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the budget coming tomorrow and the economic survey today. So one has been just caught up into those things, but I'm extremely grateful to the school and to the university and to all of you for inviting me and accommodating me. Thank you very, very much. And I've been listening to the great words of wisdom since morning, and I must say it is a great honor to listen to friends from our own country and friends from our extremely warm, friendly nations. We've been talking about peace, we've been talking about working together, we've been appreciating India's role and India's support and India's ethos and India's heritage and culture. Thank you very much, everybody. I would only like to come directly to the topic given for the day, that is reinventing business management practices, obviously for sustainability and growth. Friends, all of us are always, first of all, looking for growth, and then obviously looking for sustainable growth. Be it any business, be it any public sector, be it any private sector, be it your own parents, one is looking for better times and one is looking for sustaining those better times. And for doing that, one always keeps looking for and exploring what needs to be done. And that is what needs to be done is that is what we are calling is reinventing. Because every day there would be new situations. And every day you have to not just come out of those situations, you have to also improve yourself or your practices for growing further. Pandemic has obviously changed the whole scenario. Pandemic has put all of us, the entire world, into a big tizzy. You see the most developed countries of the world, the most secure countries of the world are feeling not just pain, but very, very big pain. So for them, immediate question is of sustainability. Obviously, they cannot be looking for growth at this moment. They have to sustain themselves. And for sustaining, they're looking for best of the practices. They may be survival practices. They may be practices for sustaining their businesses, their economy. So those are the questions, those are challenges, and especially speaking to the students. This year should open your minds to new situations that can always occur during your lifetimes. I would say it's wrong, of course, on my part to say, but I would say you are the lucky ones who are witnessing a pandemic at such young age. It is again extremely unfortunate, but that has come. So that should prepare you, strengthen your resolve to come out of these situations. If the life is always rosy, if the life is always comfortable, you will never know how to fight back. You will never know how to come out of those situations. You will just collapse. So tough times teach a lot. It is the tough times you come to know about your own strengths. It's a tough times you come to know about the strength that the society gives you, that the nation gives you, that colleague nations or friendly nations give you. So you just have to keep your eyes open, I would say, for the students. Just keep your eyes open as to how different or most difficult situations are being handled by your city administration, by your state administration, by the nation's leadership, and by international leadership. This is the best time for you to study those best practices, how they are doing. Every night you should think into 100 problems that the pandemic is being there creating for each one of you. And 1 day, 2 days, and 20 days thereafter, you should see how that problem has been handled. You must have heard the Prime Minister speaking at Davos last evening and telling the whole world that according to the predictions which the whole world bodies had given in April, May, June 2020, that India is going to be the worst hit country by the pandemic, and more than 25 to 30 crore Indians would be hit by the pandemic. So when that was the alarming situation given by the world leaders, by the world organizations, so what was the option available to you? I'm talking of reinventing. If that had happened, had we taken those things that we cannot do anything because the world bodies have told us this way, 18-20% of us would have perished by now. Our businesses, our economies would have totally collapsed. India would have become a lost country. So what happened? You have to reinvent, you may call it management practices or business practices, or you may say leadership characteristics and leadership qualities. Leadership had to take the challenge. Leadership had to say that I will not let it happen. Leadership had to come out that I am going to save my country. And a challenge that I am going to be the best performing country in the pandemic. So this is an example in front of all of you. This is an example in front of all of us. This is an example in front of the entire world. More the challenges, more the difficulties, there has to be bigger resolve that you can stand out. India has shown to the world that we can be the best or we are the best. So how has India shown? It is only because we run into a trouble, because the whole world told that we are going to collapse. That is a given opportunity to tell the world that no, we will survive, we will grow, we will sustain, and we would prove to the world that we are number one. So my only, I would say, not a word of wisdom, but I can tell each of the student and all the people from the academia that when we were young, we used to study that there is always room at the top. And this quote always made me at that time think a lot, and question a lot as to how can there be room at the top. There cannot be any room at the top because at the top there will be only 1, 2, 3, 10 people. And the whole world is wanting to go there. So how can there be room at the top? Now you have seen it. The answer is in front of you. Entire Europe has collapsed. USA has collapsed. Best governed and best known countries of the world have collapsed in front of this pandemic. Even when they had 1/10 of the population, or even when they have 1/100th of the population, they have collapsed. So what does it prove? That in case you are determined, in case you are clear on what exactly you are committed to, in case you are 24/7 working hard into the right goals with the right thinking, with the right approach, there is always room at the top. India, which was destined to be the worst country under the pandemic, has come out to be the best country in the world. So there's always room at the top. So my only words, I don't say words of wisdom. All of you are younger generations. All of you know much more than what we know. All of you have more means to know, much more than we had the means to know. I would only say keep thinking fresh ideas. Do not go merely by what is written in the books. Do not merely go by what is happening around or what tells you something. Listen to everybody, read everything, but try to have a mindset where you say, no, I will find a solution to this. Or you say, I will find a better solution to this. Everyday solutions to problems are coming up. You should say that I will find a better and a cheaper and a faster solution to the whole thing. These are a couple of things, just very few things in life, which you must keep at the back of your mind. And let me tell you, every day of your life, you are going to find situations which you never thought of. Every day in life, you will feel totally lost. And that is the day you can come out in the most flying colors. I'll just share one or two examples, and then, of course, so many great speakers, so many stalwarts from the entire world are here, so I'll not take more of time. I'll just tell you one small thing. When I started my career, on my first day, I was the city magistrate in Patiala in Punjab. At the age of 24 years, when I was into the office, and there was a big, you say demonstration or a rally or I don't say it like the Kisans had in Delhi, but something very big at that time.